Good evening. Welcome. We'll call this evening's meeting to order and ask you to join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I appreciate that you all have come out to join us this evening. A couple announcements before we get started. We did come just now from an executive session with our attorney, and there were 3 topics. We discussed legal aspects and issues of EDU pricing. We just got an update regarding development rights ownership lawsuit in the sale of township property, and we had some discussions about some potential changes to the personnel and safety manual that have been worked on by a group of the board for some time. And the normal announcements, agendas are in the back of the room if you didn't get one when you came in. We do video record all of our meetings, and they will be posted on the website, as will written minutes once they're approved by the board. Any individual here has the right to record these proceedings. You just need to let us know you intend to do so now. Okay. And there will be 2 opportunities for public comment. One will be toward the beginning and then one at the end of our meeting. If you wish to comment, we ask that once you're recognized by the chair, you would step up to the microphone in front of the board and state your name and address before addressing the board. With that, we will do self-introductions of the board.
David Brooke.
Ann Weiser.
Art Rutledge.
Paul Solomon.
And Jeff Renault is away on a business trip that's taken most of this week, so he is absent for this evening. And to my left are Todd Ziegler, our township manager, Tim Buck, our solicitor, and Wendy, who is doing our minutes for tonight, Wendy Brown. So, all right. With that, we will go back to the agenda, and we'll begin with approval of the minutes from last month's meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any questions or comments? We shall vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. 4 votes to the affirmative. The minutes are approved. We will move to the treasurer's report. Any questions, comments? None?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I will second. Any questions before we vote? Okay, we'll give you a moment. No problem.
The report has all the expenditures and all the revenue for the past month.
Must have some pretty expensive repairs, Todd, to the backhoe, I noticed, huh?
Yeah, it was not a good month for a lot of our equipment. We lost, yeah.
But for people who don't know, we actually do most of our repair in-house, so that we at least don't have to go outside and incur
Right, because the prices you see there, those expenses are
material.
for material.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the labor we're able to perform, including even the inspection of the equipment that you need to. Do you have something? Okay. We have a motion and a second. We shall vote.
Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative. 4 is approved. Now we've reached the first opportunity for public comment. And I believe, Phil, you had asked to address this during public comment, so we'll let Phil come up and then others could follow if they wish to.
Phil Robinson, Amanda Lane. I guess I'm looking for some guidance. I've been working for some time to try to get an alternative route out of the Chestnut Commerce Center. We've looked at a lot of different options. History goes way back to the early 90s. The property only had access to a tunnel road. We negotiated, got an easement from the Keeneys and built a road out to 851. We paid the cost of that totally in-house through the company to the tune of about $700,000 back in 1992. And even today, the only driveway on that road is the bus terminal. But we also have a back part of the property that's been sort of been trapped forever It's always been a problem of dumping. When we first bought the property, people really thought it was a town dump, and we're dumping there for 20 or 30 years. We cleaned up the mess from that, but as Todd can verify, it's a constant ongoing problem, so that every month I get a call that there's dumping there. Plus, it has the property, it doesn't create a through situation where the property at that back end has traffic flow to warrant the kind of development we'd like to see, their office buildings and things like that. We worked with a piece of ground called Midsummer. We did a plan a couple years ago, got approved to have 5 lots subdivided. We were going to dedicate a piece of that ground to the township to hopefully have the road built. Going back again to history, if you go back to 91, what is now John O'Keefe Park, we also bought. And that was dedicated to the township with the hopes of a road being built through there. It never happened. There's a playground developed there, which we fully supported. But the theory was that this new road was going to continue through this Midsummer piece and then into the playground and out to Windy Hill Road. I started to get the indication that that wasn't going to happen, and that one more time we were going to be dedicating land that wasn't going to create the road system that we hoped would happen. The town has an official map that shows the road coming up through another neighboring property up to right across from Bartonslager. That property, if
I had to reboot, sorry, for example, it's all this stuff.
Todd has the topo for that. One of the discussions yesterday was the topography and that issue, and could the road go that way. Long story short, we don't think that that road is going to be a collector road. We think it's just going to be another exit out of the project. The existing road in the project is 30 foot wide. Your minimum width for a collector is 36 foot wide. It doesn't make sense to make that road a 36 foot wide road. That the existing Elm's not 36 and Windy Hill's not 36. It makes more sense to make it 30 foot and bring the road up.
Yeah, I have your,
This helps. I mean, if you want to leave that for a second, we can do that too.
this will load here in a minute. It's a county GIS and sometimes it's a little slower.
Right now, Elm Street's right there. There's a barricade there that stops it. And back, 50 years ago, the theory was it was going to blend around and come out the other end. We had looked at coming through here and going out through the playground. Again, I don't think it's real popular to take that road through the playground and use the parking lot that's in the playground now to get out there. Your official map shows it coming here and going right through that house to align with Bartonslager, which is a really minor farm road. This is the property we have available that we could build a road through. And when he pulls up the topography, you'll see that it's really steep through here. We propose to build the road out through this way and align with Windy Hill Road here to get that exit out. This is the property that's constantly being dumped on. I mean, it's just constant. And at one time, literally, we took 6 dumpsters out of there back when we first bought the property.
What's the street going up there north from up further?
Here,
Yeah, right there. What is that?
they're both called Elm. That's just
Oh, it's okay.
it's
It's just a,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a circle, and just to speak to what Phil says, I drive it periodically just to see how bad it is and what gets dumped there. It's paint cans and TV sets and furniture and mattresses, and it does continue. Go ahead.
27 years of cleaning it. I heard that. I've been doing it honestly.
Go ahead.
Our hope is to make this a through road. We really try to attract some people. We have one building up here that we did about 3 or 4 years ago. That's an engineering company. There's an existing building over here. It's got a microbrewery and a few other things, gymnasiums and stuff. We're really hopeful that we can probably get some office structures in there. But we really think we need that through road that goes all the way from here out through Elm Street out to 851 and creates that total. Our problem is your existing map shows that road coming up here And when we go to staff, they've always talked about this being a collector, 36-foot wide collector for the future bypass. And you may not have all seen the bypass plan, or you may have. That was a plan that was done by C.S. Davidson showing the bypass. A lot of that, you know, it's a great idea and a thought, but I don't think it's popular anymore. Part of that was going through the Rainmeyer property out at Main Street or the Susquehanna Trail and Campbell Road. Those things I don't think are going to happen real quick. We just want to get this part of it done and build this road. And here's what I was talking about, the topography. If you look at these lines, it's about 50-foot difference from right there to right there. It's real tough topography. And what we're proposing to do is sort of ride it out a little bit on an angle diagonally out here to try to compensate for that as opposed to trying to come straight up the hill. Plus, we don't own this property. We can't make that happen, and it's impractical to buy that house, knock it down, and build that road out through there and work at this grade. So at staff review yesterday, we had a discussion, and I asked if I could come to the board and discuss this some more with the idea that we'd still like to continue to build this road, get that access out through here. The other issue that comes into play is at the far end of Windy Hill, where Tallinn and Windy Hill do come together. It's a terrible intersection. And again, the map would show that. It's really poor, and this map shows it too. This would be a much better way of getting anywhere in there. This right here, this terrible intersection right there, if any of you ever traveled that.
Yeah, very steep.
If you try to make that turn, it's near impossible, and it's really dangerous. And that bypass plan actually calls for that being closed down.
You're welcome. I guess your time's up.
So, yeah, I don't want to take your whole night, but you know, we'd love to keep moving forward. We'd love to try to develop the Midsummer property and get this road out. We'd like it to be a 30-foot wide road and create some development on the balance of the 4 acres that helps compensate for the cost of the road, because it's going to be a very, very expensive road. It's going to be just like Elm Street or like Mannery Road, where we built through Presidential Heights, where there's no driveways on it. You're building, you know, half mile or quarter mile of road, 30-foot wide with no driveways, and you're spending $500,000 or $1 million. And, you know, I think the town benefits from it. We're just trying to make it all work. So, you know, I said yesterday, it's almost like a private-public partnership trying to resolve the issue. So that's where we are.
I have a couple of questions, if I could. So you want to donate a portion of the one property, and then who's paying for the road?
No, that was the old plan.
Okay.
The old plan was, we were going to develop 5 lots here. That plan was approved. And this land here was going to go to the township, and hopefully the road was going to be
So that would
built.
come out there, okay. So
And I don't think that, I came to believe that that wasn't going to happen. So we pulled the plan, and we came back with a new version of it where we built the road. And what we're saying now is, let us build the road.
So you want to build the road through that property connected to Windy Hill?
Right, we want to build a road out through into this direction.
Okay.
We can't build it through this house, which we don't own.
That's understandable.
We'll build the road. We do think there's going to be some residual land that's going to be dedicated as part of the playground. We don't need the whole property to develop, so there'll be some additional playground. We think the units we develop here will be really accessible to the playground, walking, and all that sort of stuff, you know. And I looked at it more today. I think we can really hug the road over this way, develop the units here, have some more open space that goes as part of the park, and have all these units that you could actually walk to the playground. So I think it could be a really great plan.
So you're thinking like townhomes there?
I'm sorry?
You're thinking like a townhome community
Yeah,
there?
yes. And meeting your ordinance with a number of units per acres and all the other stuff. So,
So what are you looking for from the board?
Yeah,
well, I keep getting stopped at
30 feet.
staff review.
and that was my second question. What's the main drawback
I
to
don't
the 30
think
foot?
stopped is a fair statement.
I don't either.
Because all you submitted was a sketch plan.
What staff was talking about was, and what Phil is before the board tonight, as he said, he wants to extend from here and come up, some configuration where it comes up across here and then comes out, whether it's here or whether it's here or wherever, is if the board, before he proceeds any farther, if the board has any objections or if they're open to that concept of a new road opening up on Windy Hill that connects to and would create a through street.
Okay.
And one of the issues, or your official map shows a road that goes through here. Now, when that official map was done, no one had topography. So, it's drawn on paper and that's where the road's shown, but it's impractical for that to happen.
And the fact that the house is there.
The house is there, we don't
Could be
know.
moved technically, right? If we
What's
were
that?
to- If we
Martin
wanted
Slater
to
could be moved.
realign
That's a very good point.
things, Martin Slater could be moved, its feet
That-
on either side.
That's the one, I didn't want to bring it up, but in my opinion, that makes a lot more sense to move that there than for this road to come up that hill and through that house.
At the bottom dog leg of sorts to just continue on out at an angle.
Right through here.
Yeah, well, I was down a little bit further. If you go down there and just take it up at an angle to then meet, yeah, somewhere in there. But anyway, okay, and what,
But back to
the
staff,
3036 question.
well, staff, we don't have any objections to what he's proposing here. The
Okay,
question is whether the board is open to a new street opening, creating a new through street.
okay.
And he's not asking for any waivers or anything, because,
Nothing's been submitted.
it has to meet
We meet all of our
ordinance requirements.
ordinance
So
requirements.
he's just, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Phil's just looking for a consensus from the board that you find his
That's not.
foresight for,
And it's not been on our own.
yeah, that he doesn't go through all this and then when it's up before the board for approval, you say, we don't want a road coming out there.
That makes sense. And do you think that's going to help eliminate the dumping on Elm because it's not as remote that people can get to it, or?
I hope it opens up the property and more happens back there, but it's just that fact that there's a road going through it, it's not a dead end. People can go, you got to be familiar with it. You go back there, there's no activity. It's real easy to back up there. But
Gotcha.
if there's traffic coming through there, that's not going to happen.
I'm open to the prospect and all the rest of the board.
I was at the, along with Horace, I was at the staff meeting yesterday just to observe. And they had some real serious problems with some of those details. And I want to,
I don't think we're addressing any of those.
No, yeah, I mean,
We're just
I think the
saying,
details that get hashed out.
when we consider something that has a road running through there, that's all we're saying.
let me say one thing. Mount Airy Road was considered to be a bypass at one time, and the board rejected it because it went through some residential neighborhoods. It wasn't a good concept, so we made Elm Drive the bypass. So I would want to still see a 36-foot road, even though, and when Elm Drive was developed, as you get closer to the exit 4, each property owner could expand Elm Drive, so it is 36 feet. Whatever our standards are for rectangular road.
It's 36 feet and Elm Drive, the full length of it is 30 feet. And Windy Hill's about 26 feet. So I'd be building a stretch of road from there to there that's 36 and nothing in between. And I don't think, the concept of the whole bypass thing, I don't think it's going to fly. And that's what caused some of the problem with my plan, is the fact that it was being designed as a collector, a 36-foot wide road, and it creates issues for me to develop the balance of the property.
But that's a detail even beyond what you're looking for from us tonight, which is just that we consider a new road coming through there, whatever it might need to be.
The township has looked at this version, and the township has looked at that version. They've never looked at this version. So staff is sort of a stumbling block there where that was one and that was one.
Yeah, I agree, I want it right next to the park.
So by consensus, we're open to consider that.
Sure.
As long as it's clear that we aren't giving any approval.
Well, we're not.
I know that, but I want to make over time it gets misconstrued. I think we're relying totally on the staff to make the decision as far as the feasibility or desirability of what you want to do.
But we would be open to the concept.
Okay.
I would say proceed with the staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not saying I agree with the concept. I don't.
Okay, is there anybody else who wishes to address the board at this time?
Make the minutes reflect, but I don't agree.
All right, we will move on. At this time, we're looking at ordinance number 2019-04, which are saldo amendments. It is time to hold a public hearing for that, so we will for the moment adjourn our normal board meeting and enter into a public hearing. Again, on ordinance 2019-04 has been properly advertised and brought before the public at this time. This ordinance, just to set the stage, is to clarify, add and delete some definitions and requirements that have arisen over the last couple years of working with the ordinance. So essentially, the objective here is to improve clarity to the existing saldo regulations. They're fairly lengthy. The board's had time to review them all. I don't think we need to go through them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, real quickly, I can just tell you, it's just fine tuning definitions. Really changing the terminology of waivers to modification to meet the municipality's planning code. A little bit on plan requirements, removing the critical environmental area out and referencing the zoning ordinance. And that's same with the stormwater. There was some redundancy, so we'll just be referencing the stormwater ordinance, and that's about it. It's really not changing the context of the ordinance, just some clarification.
Is there anybody in the public who wishes to comment or speak to this ordinance? If not, we will close the public hearing and proceed to see if I'll make a motion that we accept the ordinance.
I'll second.
Are there comments from the board?
I hate monuments.
I think that's it's a term they always put on the drawing. All right, then let's vote. Aye.
Even though there was monuments?
I don't have a choice. Most of it's
Four
fine.
votes to approve, affirmative votes, so that's approved. We have a resolution. Todd, you can probably give us the best quick explanation of resolution 2019-08.
Yeah, this is, again, it's up to the board whether we want to proceed with it. I did attach, I believe, a copy of an email from the Borough of West Easton, and they're asking that municipalities across Pennsylvania enact this resolution or some similar form that we would then submit to our state bodies, Boroughs Association, Township Association, also to our elected state officials, and asking them to amend the right to know law to address what they call vexatious requesters, those that use the right to know law as a harassment tool. Under the right to know law, everything is pretty much, public record, which is fine. But there are some municipalities that have experienced where citizens become angry at elected officials and they abuse that law, that right to know law, where on a daily basis or a couple times a day, for days and months on end, they're just constantly requesting public records, even though they may not even have a use for them. So they're asking the state legislature to take a look at that, and maybe what they're asking is to define harass, overburden, and provide some kind of remedy for public bodies for those that do these repeated solicitations.
Would overburden cover also, we get the sales thing where somebody comes in and wants every record of something that took place in the last 6 months because they want to try to sell somebody concrete or something. With
this, I don't think
this
address
covers
that, but my thoughts were that if I'm glad you brought that up.
It should include those broad requests from.
Maybe we could at least-
From out of state. where people want to know every building permit applied for the last 6 months or something, or last year, and those things I think should be included in here.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests, and it's not just our municipality, from businesses more than individuals, asking for, well, there's one that we have an individual that comes in, he works for a company, every month he wants a copy of the building permit report, which is fine in itself, but he's using it as a tool to go out and then to reach out to these folks that are building new homes, garages, or whatever. So we're kind of providing a public service to help come up with a client list. So we run into a lot of that.
But I don't know that that would necessarily qualify.
I don't think that falls under this at all.
Vexatious requests.
But what we can do is include that in a letter,
Oh,
cover letter.
And one thing I did not see in here is the process for identifying someone that is believed to be a vexatious requester. Which I think needs to be determined as well. You know, who's determining that? Obviously, it would need to be an independent third party, but that's something that needs to be dealt with as well. And
That's something the legislation.
Yeah, I think that should probably be.
We're trying to get attention.
If they can come up with a definition of harass and
Okay.
overburden, I think would probably be contained within that. But, I mean, it would be more than these two things, I think would be the outcome, if they pursue it.
Brandon?
Sure.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Let's start.
All right. I'm on board as long as we fix the typographical error in clause 3. I know Todd put these in there to make sure we read them. But overburden the public body, not he public body. We just missed the T.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up.
I don't know if we cut and pasted, so it was somebody else's mistake, but just throwing it out there.
I think that's public harassment.
Anyway, so I make the motion to approve Resolution 2019-08 with the amended spelling.
Second?
Thank you.
And including the cover letter.
Would you add to the
Yes.
motion that we include in the letter
I would, defining,
the sales, however you want to word that?
I think we'll come up with some wording, but I would say for business purposes, commercial, request for commercial use.
Okay.
Todd will include that.
You'd agree to that in your second? too?
so if I were to repose that, I would motion to approve Resolution 2019-8 with a cover letter specifying our concern for commercial uses of right to know requests. And my spelling error.
Can we have another second then?
Oh, yeah. I will second that.
All right.
Again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But for the last time.
You just have to say aye one more time.
Seems we had plenty of discussion, so I think we're probably ready to vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
So ordered, we will leave it up to Todd to do that. All right, we have a ordinance 2019-05. This is to authorize advertisement, and since this involves the pension agreement, I guess I'll let Todd speak to this one.
Okay. The township's pension plan is through Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System, PMRS. Our plan, I think, was last updated in 2006. There is no substantive changes to the plan, but it's to restate the plan to meet some recent changes in state law. So that's all this really is, but we are required to do it by ordinance. So
Doesn't change anything in the plan.
benefits or anything like that.
I'll make a motion that we,
Served or-
I'll make a motion that we approve authorizing advertisement.
I'll second.
Questions, we'll vote.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
4 votes to the affirmative, that's approved for advertising ordinance number 2019-05. nothing under subdivision and land development, so I think that brings us to reports. We'll start with the manager's report. Anything, Todd, you want to emphasize before we get to questions?
Quick things. I did lay at your seat a memo to you regarding Gamble Road. Which is a project that we did jointly with Hopewell Township. Total costs have come in for Hopewell Township at around $94,900. Shrewsbury Township, our costs were $89,200. Bottom line is the difference, we would owe Hopewell Township $2,827.60, and I would ask for authorization to make that payment.
Did we contribute labor as well as
Now,
so they contribute most of the
what labor we had, talked to Mike, maybe $100 or $200, that was it, yeah. But they did all the labor and all the coordinating.
When you concur with all the figures?
Yeah, Mike and I looked at those, yes.
Questions?
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, please authorize that.
I'd make the motion to authorize payment in the amount of $2,827.60 to Hopewell Township for the remainder of the cost incurred on the Gamble Road culvert replacement from the 2018 budget.
I will second.
It's possibly the longest motion in our township history. Is there a motion?
I second.
Thank you.
Questions? We'll vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. 4 votes to the affirmative. That is approved.
The other thing I just wanted to, and I think I mentioned last board meeting and then sent out an email as well regarding Congressman Smucker, the flooding grants and so forth. I looked into both of those and they don't offer funding for repairs as a result of flooding damage, but there is grant money available if we can think of a project that could reduce or eliminate potential damages down the road. You know, for example, I'm going to kind of use Glen Rock Burr as an example. You know, they have a stream runs through town, you know, constricted by walls, so only one place for the water is to go up. You know, one of the remediation projects they could consider is, if they had the room to do it, is they could widen that stream, or they could build levees or what have you. So those grant funds are more geared toward projects for prevention and maintaining existing.
Any application to the basin that we want to do with the maintenance center?
No, that wouldn't be.
Because that's not really a...
No, because it's geared more towards streams,
Okay.
stream flooding.
There's nothing for any of the streams that have had bridges wash out back around our junctures with our towns.
Yeah, see, these types of grants would be if we wanted to build some kind of levee wall or something. I don't know.
Space, but we don't have.
It's mitigation money
Yes.
as opposed to repair money, basically is what I hear you saying.
Pardon?
It's mitigation
Correct.
rather than
correct.
repair.
Yes.
Have you considered whether we have any eligible projects in our township?
I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Could we run past
Yeah.
Jeff to see if he could think of anything that might be?
Who in?
Jeff, the engineer?
Mike,
Like, yeah.
who's our road supervisor.
Just to ask them if they have.
Would you just check with them and maybe there is something? Please?
I'm not aware of Mike because, you know, we've talked about a lot of flooding issues. He's never mentioned anything, but I will double check with him.
Thank you.
And the last thing I just wanted to report on what came up at last meeting, the question came up with the Isert farms and cutting of the grass and the stormwater basins and so forth. I did pull the developers agreement that we have in place for the stormwater basins in lot 55, which is going to be the wildlife preserve area refuge. The agreement states that they have 2 years from the date that the final plan was recorded to Recorder of Deeds office. That was September 27th of 18.
So they have 2 years from that date, so they have to have that converted by September of 2020 next year. There is a provision in there that allows them to make a 6-month extension request, but that's not automatic, it would have to be approved by the board. With that said, as I mentioned last time, they're still in the E&S mode and not converted at this point in time to the stormwater management phase. Regarding the mowing of those and so forth, I did call and talk to Zach, and I can't recall his last name, from York County Conservation District. He did advise me that there is no stipulation that you cannot mow them, provided that everything is stabilized. You know, there's a good start of the grass to keep it in place. He did say, though, if you do mow those disturbed areas, you just can't cut it real short. It should have some height to it still. Areas that haven't been disturbed can be cut. So the areas like behind Schultz, along 851, those homes, I don't believe anything was disturbed directly behind those, so those could be cut. I did send an email to Charlie Nass, who was on vacation, I think for about 2 weeks or so.
I got back yesterday.
Okay. In the meantime, Phil's going to look into it, so they are aware of it, and they do know that they need to get it cut. I did ask for a date and email, and you may have emailed me back, I just have not had time to look at it, asking if they could provide us with a date before I have to send the formal.
We're talking about the 14-acre wildlife area.
Yeah, it's more of that swale that was existing even prior to where the basins were constructed, like directly behind the homes.
If you plant wildflowers, you can't just mow them and discriminate.
Yeah, that hasn't been planted yet at this point. Yeah, that's what has to be done within 2 years.
So this would not interfere with that component?
Correct.
Thank you.
No, you're right, because once the wildflowers and everything is planted and established, that's going to be a controlled cutting. Yeah, typically in the...
And isn't that part of the management package as well?
Correct.
Thank you.
We have planted about 10 acres of it. We haven't done all the perimeter areas. The main areas we planted and it's growing.
Okay.
We have a very good plan. If you follow that diligently and consistently, and with every effort in your body, it's going to come out very well.
We've been mowing various areas, you know, regularly. This is a new request and we're, you know, it's a little different because it's down behind. We have to find somebody to get in there to do that.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on.
In the field itself, it can't be mowed because it is planted in meadow flowers, but the swale beside that and some of the other areas can. Charlie went out there today to look at that, and he's going to look at talking to some people, but the biggest portion of it is planted in wildflowers.
This area, the area that was brought up last month, of the greatest concern is the homes at front 851 in the back of those homes there. So.
The swells are in grass, and the remaining grass. Convey the water without any erosion. Is that right?
The swales behind those homes are all grass.
That's permanent. That's a permanent vegetation.
Yeah.
It carries water.
Yeah, so that's the area that needs to be.
Okay, right. I agree.
Focused on. So.
Did you get any follow-up on Ms. Fryer's questions about Whitesville?
No, because that's part of the routine final inspection for us to release the bonding for that. So we have a list of that when there's a complete and final inspection done.
Everybody knows, Isaac Farms is immediately west of Shrewsbury, or part of Shrewsbury, on 851 as your head west. And if they're building a number of large, single family detached homes there. And the western side or bottom of that is going to be 14 acres of wildlife refuge. It's very specific design for plantings and so forth.
And that's the only point that's in the township. All the houses and so forth are in Shrewsbury Borough.
That's all I had in my report.
And any further questions for Todd?
We'll get to the traffic stuff with Thompson later.
Anything else? All right. We usually don't get a written report, but always give the solicitor the opportunity to give any sage advice if you would like to.
And we give you unlimited time, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you.
All right. We have the engineer's report, and I guess under that, a couple of things we were going to...
I'm so sorry.
Sure.
Sorry, Tom, one more question. Any information on the budget request information about software, firmware? Okay.
I'll be working on all that in August and September, so.
Okay, I didn't know if you had anything preliminary. I know it's
No.
still kind of
No.
overwhelming in the office, but just thought I'd ask. Okay. Sorry, thank you.
All right. I think we were going to do, I think just under the engineer's report, just a couple of updates regarding Line Road. And I can do it, you can do it, whatever.
You can start off.
I will say many of you here know that it's been an ongoing issue. The Line Road is closed. There are 2 stream crossings that the flood basically tore the culverts out, so it is a closed road at this point in time, shared with North Hopewell, thank you, Township. It has been stalled, I think, for quite a while, but fortunately, we're talking pretty regularly with North Hopewell Township, their chair. I probably talk to him a couple times a week, and there does seem at least to be a reasonable amount of progress. From their engineer, we have received estimates for both the GRS bridge and the culvert approach. We do have several questions which you're going to get back to them about. We'll give them a very short time to answer those questions, and I think quickly make a decision for us, which hopefully they will concur with, as to whether we prefer the culvert or the bridge, and what financially looks the better way. If it is the culvert, then we probably will take the project over. If it's a GRS bridge, it will remain with Hopewell because their engineer is kind of the expert on that. We don't feel that our engineering firm has the expertise to move forward with that. I'll let you add or...
The only thing I have to add is, I know when we had our discussions with our engineer, Art and I, we felt that if it ends up going with the GRS bridge, that we are going to request a firm timetable, a schedule, to make sure that they follow that closely. As Art said, we did get the 2 estimates from their engineer. One thing we need to go back and look at is the opening, the bids that we received, the box culvert opening, which is a precast concrete box they set in place. It's precast somewhere else. That cost estimate is based on an opening to allow water to flow through of 21 feet wide by 8 feet high. The GRS bridge cost estimate, which is less than the box culvert, that only came in, that estimate is based on 16 feet wide and only 4 feet high. So we're going to ask them to estimate the GRS bridge at the 21 by 8. So first of all, we're comparing apples to apples. The second thing is York County Conservation District comes out and they do a study of the stream, and they determine what they call a full bank width, meaning when there's a high flow and so forth, what that minimum opening should be, and they've come back and said it should be 20.2 feet, so they're saying it should be at minimum 21 feet. So that's why we're kind of held up a little bit with these cost estimates, because they weren't budgeted at apples to apples. So that's one of the things we're going back to and asking them to provide us with accurate numbers so that we can make a decision based off of that.
But there does seem to be a commitment from at least their board that I sense that they really do want to move forward with this. And I think we have the mechanism now, we have at least something in our hands to look at to be able to do that. There's some time involved because we'll be doing a grant application. but there's also a lot of permitting, and maybe some of those things can be done simultaneously. Try to compress the schedule. I'll give you a chance if you have any questions, since you're living there. And
No questions, thank you.
Okay, it's looking better.
Or at least we're talking.
No, I do concur with Art that I've really sensed increased interest in working together and trying to get this moving from the board, and particularly the board chair.
Thank you.
In North Oakland.
In North Carolina, yes, and Art as well.
I'm sure I've taken the entire process.
No, I mean, he initiates a call every actually couple days, and he's been pretty good responding with information, as he said he would. So I think and they've pretty much said, look, there are advantages, disadvantages, and cost differences, but they said basically, you guys decide that, Shrewsbury, what it is you want, and I think we'll fall in line. But we're going to do it based on intelligent information and what makes sense to everybody. I think just quickly on Mount Airy Road, I asked our engineer to take another look at that because it is increasingly getting this washboard effect as you come down the hill to the junction with 851. I could actually see it pretty well today because it was raining. You could see a little puddle sitting in there. He feels that it is not a contractor performance issue, that it's a result of the materials that they use on the road today and the constant braking, especially of trucks, that this occurs because as they hit their brakes over and over and over, and Walmart has become a parking lot for the tree trimmers and a host of other trucks. I actually had a gleam of hope the other day. We came back, I guess it was from Ocean City on a Monday, and there were no trucks. There was this big, I think, and there was big signs all over the place that said no overnight parking. The next day the trucks were there and the signs were gone, so I'm not sure what's taking place, but his feeling is that if there's nothing underlying that we can do, that he thinks it might get better when the weather cools off a bit, but down the road there'll probably be some maintenance, but not much we can do about it this early in the game.
Knowing that that's a problem in the future, are we able to use a different kind of mix or something to make it stronger, or make it out of concrete or something?
There are different,
that's a problem area?
there's different materials that can be used. This is, what they put on here is what they call super pave, which is a little more pliable, a little more flexibility, but given it's a slight downhill slope to it, as Art said, you're braking, and it's really hot, it just kind of moves it. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an expert, but I do know there's a material out there that almost looks like a base course, which is more of the rougher porous material versus that nice smooth shiny look that's on there now. But a lot of people think that the road's not completed, but it is. Depending on the severity and how soon it comes back, you can always look at things, you need new concrete or something, but there are other options out there.
And the developer, we're still protected from, he will come back in and repair the road.
No.
And rebuild the road.
No, that's what Art was saying, was that the engineer is saying, and he said, I don't say this too often, but he said he does not believe that this is a performance issue caused by the
Our expires this month.
I know that.
We had it extended a year because of that condition.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's just that it's the super paved material, that it's just it's at an intersection, and the slope, degree of the slope and everything.
It's still under warranty.
No, it will not be.
It will not be, but right now it is.
It is.
Well, I don't know, it expired in August, I'm not sure when.
Yeah, it's the end of August.
Okay.
My understanding from the engineer is, and what I gathered, if we go back and make an issue that this is a workmanship issue,
We'll lose.
we will probably not be successful.
Yeah. And I think we have to trust our engineers. I told Jeff, I'll trust your opinion.
Yeah.
Does the workmanship issue include a material issue?
But he doesn't believe it's a material issue because they placed, and they have an inspector out on site while they're putting the material down. The material met all the specifications. It's the super paved material.
And the constant
Well,
traffic.
this is going to continue to get worse. And-
He doesn't know, actually, we don't know.
Apparently, it has gotten worse,
It has.
what you said. So someday, time is going to put back in at our cost, we're going to have to repair.
If I may, your Soldo incorporates a book of material specifications that engineers use. And should you feel it appropriate to say to your engineer, maybe some of these need beefed up, you can do so. Maybe they need to have different kind of materials under different circumstances. Your engineer can talk intelligently about that. I had to know that the book exists.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of Mount Airy Road seems to be fine. It's just that little, maybe.
Well, it's fine going up, it's fine going uphill too, it's just that one downhill section.
It's interesting, that the state, as part of the exit 4 report, is going to come up beyond Mount Airy Road and restore that road from the same ripple effect. And that, we appreciate that, by the way.
Okay.
I think
I do too. They weren't going to do that originally until we got in and we pushed for it.
and they accepted that.
Yes, they did.
We do some good sometimes, though.
Any questions on the maintenance department report? Or anything Todd wants to add?
I read this one too.
I have nothing to add.
Okay.
I'm not sure what progress is. I'm sorry.
Sort of like regress.
I have to give you a reason to speak during the meeting. That's it.
I did notice in the buildings and all they put on at Miller Park, in the areas that were really washing bad on the walking trail, did seem to solve that. It looks much better. The only section that still looks to me like it needs it is, instead of going through the woods on the trail, when you would make a left, you got that little hill and then along the woods, that's still washing pretty bad. But the rest of it, it looks like it really helped that problem, so.
Yeah, no, we had a call before we made some repairs down at Windy Hill, and the lady that called in initially, she called back later and she said that she thought they did a nice job.
Yeah, I think you did at Miller Park too. It's just that one little section yet that still washes out bad as it kind of gets close to the parking lot there. Might be one sometime you can take a look at it.
In all seriousness, though, Todd, this is a wonderfully made chart.
Good save.
And allows us and the maintenance department to keep track of projects and progress.
I agree. Well stated. And well done too. Any questions on the zoning officer, codes enforcement, sewage enforcement report? And we do have.
We get that report?
Yeah, I emailed the,
Thank you.
yeah. I'm sorry, I was going to hard copy.
That's all right.
And we do this month have a very thorough documented report from the Emergency Management Office. Well done. Are there any comments you want to offer to it, or any questions anybody has for Stan?
Thank you.
Most of this you've done piecemeal along the way, so but this puts it in a nice report that we can certainly encourage them to keep track of, even with pictures. So, thank you, Stan. As usual, you continue to do a great job for that. It's worth all the money we're paying.
I was going to steal a line from Paul and say that we should double his pay.
I already did that.
Okay.
I took it on my own. to do
0
that.
to 2 zeros, right? Makes a big difference.
Any questions on the Planning Commission Zoning Hearing Board report? All right, hearing Hearing none, we're to the area for, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, we still haven't gotten anything back on the hearing master.
No.
No. 8 months in, so we're still waiting to hear about the decision there.
That's on the Fox Van his case. He's referred
Anything else? We go to supervisors' comments. I may have a couple. I attended along with Todd on Monday a course held at the PSAT's headquarters up outside Harrisburg on strategic planning for fire service operations in townships. We were attracted to that course because it's very difficult for our volunteer fire companies to keep volunteers, to raise funds, to sustain kind of what they're doing. And I think we got a lot of good information from a number of townships that were there, from fire companies, personnel that were in attendance, some ideas to back and forth, and maybe some help in even how we formulate, how we distribute our fire tax funds. I don't know if there's anything you want to...
to. Covered it well.
It was a good day.
Yeah.
It was a good day. And I would just comment that because we talked about it last time, it does seem like over the last month that we Public Services has performed much better than they started out. I have not heard, I guess you would get the complaints if there were any. I haven't heard many. The only thing I do sense...
Nothing of any significance. I won't say there hasn't been a miss here and there, but
They've been 1 week out before.
As I've talked to people, though, I think there is some misconception on kind of the process of why we changed companies, and particularly people not understanding even the cost. And just for the people here, we changed because their contract was up. It was a 3-year contract with 2 one-year extensions up to the township if they wanted to exercise them, which we did. And at that point in time, a new contract has to be awarded. It has to be publicly bid, and it has to go to the lowest responsive bidder. And since Republic is the second largest company in the U.S., it's hard to say they're not responsive. What a lot of people seem, or some seem to be confused with, is they're comparing what they're paying now with what they were paying under Penn Waste and saying the price went up. So if you hear that, it helps to explain that, yes, but it didn't go up as, what Penn Waste price went up, would go up even more. Even with like the bags, for people who use that, their price would have been $39 more than where Republic wound up. And it's a good 10, depending on the year, $10 or $11 for the full service. At any rate, maybe if you hear that, it's helpful to say to people, it's less than what it would have been had we stayed with Penn Waste. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made the change.
That's been included, in the next newsletter, Randy.
yeah, while the audience is out there,
Did you include,
listen to us, you can see it up here with the bid tabs on.
did you include a summary of that in the next newsletter?
Yes.
Goes out to everyone in the township.
Yeah, I've showed that to a couple of people, and, because they said, well, you didn't award it to the lowest bidder because I'm paying more money. I said, yes, but you gotta realize Penn Waste costs went up too, so that does show it.
This shows what it was June
Right.
of 19, and starting July 1st, Republic Service for full service was roughly $280, but Penn Waste was going to $290, and that was consistent. They were high across the board.
Right.
Until they realized they lost the bid, and then they went to lower. And that was exciting.
So just some misconceptions. I talked to one lady who thought that she had to pay the $9 for the toter, and she didn't have to pay it. And you explain, well, that's not the recyclable. That's what she thought it was. It's just you want that big toter to put your regular trash in rather than put it out in a bag. So this maybe gives people some ammunition, if you hear that in the community, to be able to kind of give people some relax.
Wasn't very long ago when we didn't have this kind of system. A property owner or homeowner would have to contract with the independent hauler, and they would have to travel around the township in an irregular fashion to pick up the trash. It probably costs a lot more than we have today. And there was a time when there was, and people would dump trash out along roads, so we've come a long way. And the cost is if you consider the program to manage, it's just something we have to pay, and it makes sense.
Thank you. Any other comments from supervisors?
Yes, there was a York Area Taxpayer meeting on July 29th, but I attended on our behalf. Nothing exciting to report, thankfully.
You mean they're not lowering your taxes?
I didn't get that this year. Sorry, we got that last year, but.
I have something else.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Well, the rain that falls on our properties and it forms runoff in many cases, I think we need to consider managing the water that falls on our property and keep it on the property and not let it flow off. We have 4 watersheds in our township. Each one is a public water supply. And there's advantages for property owners to keep the water on their property. If they have a well, if he charges a well, it just makes sense. And there's all kinds of ways they can do that, which really don't cost a lot of money. The other thing I wanted to say is that we just had a discussion regarding road development by Phil. I attended the staff meeting, as of course Todd, part of the staff was there, Laura was there, and the staff consists of our engineer and code enforcement officer and somebody from the planning commission. And they looked at this pre-submittal plan, it's called. It's just kind of a hand-drawn plan. And they had some real problems with it. And so the applicant said, well, I'll take it to the board, maybe get some input from them. But that frustrates the whole concept of what we're trying to do. We don't want to second guess the staff. They're professionals. And if we say, well, we think it should go forward, it would be easily misconstrued to think that we're giving support to the plan. That's their job. Our job is to stay out of it until it comes before us. And then we can do anything we want to do with it. But I think we're pulling the rug out from under the staff when we say, yeah, it's okay to go forward with it. And we haven't even seen the plan.
I'm going to give you a different interpretation.
Oh, no. Don't feel compelled.
I think that it was even too early to have problems with the plan because it was just kind of a sketch.
Yeah.
But, what I got from that is what the staff wants to see is going to be drawings that cost money to prepare.
Right.
And what was being looked for was just since I think it revolves around our master plan and our map. And basically this wasn't quite in accordance with the map as to how that road would be aligned. And what I heard was, that there'd like to be a consensus from the board that will they even think about this if I do something that's counter to what the official map says. I mean, that's what I heard. And nothing more. We're not looking at the plan, blessing the plan, even considering. All we said was, yeah, our consensus would be, we'd be open to considering the road moved from there to here, which is different from the official map. That's what I got from it. So I don't think we're...
But that's not what our recommendation was.
Well,
Yeah, it was.
if I can add to that, as I mentioned earlier, this was a sketch plan, so it was not a formal submission. Had it been a formal submission, staff is charged with the responsibility going through our subdivision ordinance, our zoning ordinance, to make sure that submission, that plan, meets all those requirements that have already been established by the board. This, I believe, from a staff's perspective, is more of a policy decision, which the board makes those policy decisions, the staff does not. So I believe that's, kind of coupled with what Art explained is why it came to the board for some general guidance before the developer went any farther.
We should, excuse me.
Yeah, because the policy has already been set through the master plan, And this road configuration does not necessarily match up with that master plan. So, or I should say the official map.
Official
not
map,
master plan,
right.
The official map. So it's kind of a policy change. So that's why this particular case.
Is that what we're gonna send to our staff? Or we be that specific and say all we're referring to is a policy position in regard to the official map? Or is that what?
Yeah, because there's not even been any plans submitted at this point.
I know that, but I want to make sure we're very specific in saying that the staff should proceed.
And I think the staff was very clear yesterday with the developer that if the board's okay with this, it still has to meet all the ordinance requirements. I think that was conveyed clearly.
Okay. So let's just make sure the letter is very pointed in that direction. It says in effect, or it just says literally that this has nothing to do with the details of the ordinance and so forth, but only.
I don't even think we need to get back to the staff. This was a guidance basically for Phil to say, before I spend all this money, is this something you'll proceed? I don't see us getting back to the staff on this at all.
Yeah, unless the board directs me, I was not going to make any formal letter or anything.
Yes, sir.
If I can just, that, in my opinion, that's exactly what it was all about. I made it clear that I couldn't spend money on engineering and have engineering plans done. You know, I did one sketch, I did another sketch, and I said, look, I can't have an engineer do this and have no clue whether there's any support for it. So the plan will be an engineer plan to meet your ordinance, but I needed to know whether you were open to that road being different than your official map shows, that's all.
Yeah, we haven't accepted anything. We just said.
And I don't expect any more than that.
We're open to looking at that
I
concept.
don't expect anything more than that.
6-foot parkway.
No, we're not.
That's all the devil in the detail of the
As
plans.
long as the staff doesn't say it, this also means we can lower the requirements for the width of the road. All right, well, I'm still concerned, but let's move on.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the supervisors? Anybody else with a comment? Okay, I think we can move to old business. Todd, I think we've gotten some bids for the pickup truck.
Yeah, we advertised the legal section of the newspaper to accept sealed bids for the sale of our 2006 Ford pickup truck with the contractor bed, and has 116,000 miles on it. Body-wise, generally it's not too bad, but it is starting to show its age with some rusting and so forth. The bed is not in the best of shape. We did receive 3 bids. The lowest bid was $3,500 and the highest bid was $5,550. Given the cost to advertise, given the condition of the bed with the rusting and so forth, and based on what I saw in Kelly Blue Book, Mike and I would recommend that the board accept that $5,500.
What did you see? That's what I was just Googling to see what the county.
The average 6,900.
I'm impressed.
Why?
I just ran some numbers, it was over 10 grand, but I didn't know the specifics of the truck.
Well, actually, because actually I didn't realize this, but Kelly Blue Book has where you can actually enter the VIN number. And so
Nice.
yeah.
I didn't have access to
Yeah.
that. That would have been easy. I'm sorry.
So I would call the truck to be in fair condition.
Well, listen, we've got 4 bids, so it's pretty competitive, and I'll make a motion to accept the highest bid, $5,500.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Questions? We'll vote.
Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative. I guess Mr. Shearer has bought himself a truck, huh?
Is he here?
Is all body work on that?
No, I have not seen him. Yeah, I just want to take some good sheet of plywood.
I guess,
Fiberglass?
Todd, you have an update on the grant for Miller Park improvement?
Just want to let you know, as you're aware, we were awarded last fall DCNR the grant for Miller Park improvements. However, that was contingent upon the funding source at our particular project was coming out of the federal land and water funding. You know, when the shutdown was last fall, everything got pushed back. I did receive word on the 23rd of July that DCNR, the state, did receive word that the funding was approved for our project.
Yay!
So it is official. We should shortly see a contract from the state for us to enter into this. The contract period will be June 1st of 19 through May 31st of 2022. So it's a 3-year contract. We can, you know, start the project next spring. So I'll be coming back to the board next month. Hopefully we have a contract at that point where the board can officially act to have it executed. And I'm also going to be bringing back to the board a request for proposals for a consultant to actually prepare the plan and the bid specifications. In the past, we used YSM out of York, who has assisted us in the past. But because it's federal dollars and there's grant money, or I'm sorry, there's within the budget for consulting fees for a landscape architect, we do have to go out for requests for proposals before we make a selection on who to do that work. So I'll have all that for you next month. But bottom line is, I want to let you know that it is officially official.
Can you explain anybody what the amount is and what the work entails?
I'm going to ballpark the numbers because I don't know them exactly. The total project is around $560,000, and it's a 50% matching grant. Township will pay half of that. And that funding comes from a recreation fund, and the recreation fund comes from money that developers pay to the township, $2,500 for every new building lot. So that money goes into the recreation fund, can only be used for the parks and other recreation. So we already have the funds in hand for that. So that'll be our match. But it's for Miller Park, and it involves some additional trail work.
Picnic shelters.
Picnic shelters, the pavilions, it'll be, I believe it's 2 of those. One thing I think is really important, because the field's getting used by families for soccer and so forth, and the pavilions, is youth and tot lot playground, as well as some horseshoe pits and some smaller picnic pavilions. So that's the majority of it.
Which is not the complete build out of the park. It is
Correct.
the master plan is one of either 2 or 3 phases.
I think there's 2 more phases. Yeah, if you're curious and you want to look at it really closely, you go to the township website, and if you go to parks, you can actually zoom in on that. But this is our master plan for Miller Park. We do have that online.
The only feedback I've gotten, by the way, is several requests for pickleball.
Yes. But as you know, we did do this expansion of the parking lot already. These fields exist. Our road crew put in this trail system already. The wildflower meadows have been planted in this area. So you'll be looking at the tot lot playground in this area here. This is existing sand volleyball courts. And then a pretty large picnic pavilion. This area is going to remain open and grass as a passive area. Then we have the wooded area, and then another picnic pavilion inside the wooded area. And then in the future, we have basketball courts, tennis courts, some additional parking. And probably the last phase, or the next phase, is like a concession stand with restaurants as well.
We got a donation from the government. When we bought it, they paid for half the cost of the property. They paid for half of its initial development, and they continue to pay for its advanced development. And we have 3 major parks in our township. This is the biggest one, 22 acres. I think for our population, we do have a good number of parks, including smaller parks.
Yeah, if you want to know where other parks are, we do have that down below here. So it does show our other parks as well.
So that was a donation and a purchase, Carl? That was a donation and a purchase?
We got the donation, but we also got money from the lady whose family owned that land, gave us gave us a donation of 100 or something. But it was pretty sizable, the donation, to further advance the improvement of the park. But she didn't pay, that family did not pay, the Miller family did not pay to buy it or make major improvements, just to supplement that effort.
Okay. All right, I guess next up is potential road vacancies, I guess. I guess you got an update.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to update the board on, we had some discussion last month about getting some traffic counts. I reported that I made a request to LTAP, which is a local technical assistance program through PennDOT, which is open to municipalities at no cost. I did make that request, and I was contacted in July, and they did place, and it was only to do traffic counts for Thompson Road and Cloverdale. Those studies lasted, I think, about 6 days, and I believe they removed them on Monday or Tuesday. But I did not receive the information.
Yeah, it takes a while.
So I expect to have those details, and I'll email them to you in advance.
Okay.
When we have that information, so that we have an idea what kind of traffic uses those roadways.
Okay.
So I just want to update you
So
on that traffic count.
They've done,
They completed the traffic count study.
but they haven't given us the data.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I had in that.
Okay. The next item regarding sewer EDU costs, I guess this is continuing from 2 months ago when Charlie and Phil addressed the board, and by Phil's request and the board member's request, it was delayed until this meeting. I guess there was a letter written basically saying, you know, we want to buy X number of units for X number of price. And I think it's fair to say the board certainly doesn't agree with that price. We, with the attorney, discussed some potential options, and I guess one I'd like to put forward to consider is that maybe to try to put this behind us once and for all and be out of the EDU business, which is where we'd like to be, is that we would set basically a minimum price and put it up for a sealed bid. That's a process that we're allowed to do, and it gives us a lot of options. Once that's done, it would be my proposal that we set a floor of $8,000 because that's what we've been selling them for the last 3 to 4 years. So by history, we've established that price, and by resolution. So if we establish that as a floor price and advertise for sealed bids and see what comes in. That's the starting place.
That was a motion?
Is that a motion?
Or is that a discussion topic?
I guess initially to see if there's feedback from the board, if there's interest in it, I'd certainly be happy to make an motion.
I agree. I mean, I think it's tough to go backwards. We sort of inherited this price structure, and I think we have to be consistent over time. I'm not sure that we can backpedal beyond, 8 years of history or something, 5, 6 years of history at least.
Ms. Weiser, I'm sorry, is that a second?
Well,
I don't think the motion was
I didn't
made.
actually make it, but let's do that to get us started. I would make a motion.
I thought you said you were going to make a motion. You don't need a motion, you have a second, then you have discussion. You can do it
We're doing
anyway.
it backwards.
You're
We're discussing.
We're backwards sometimes. To do that properly, I will put that in the form of a motion. I would make a motion that we establish a floor for the purpose of advertising this for public sealed bids. Floor be established at $8,000 in EDU, and we would go forward with the process of advertising for sealed bids. And you probably know the time frames that we need to concur with and how we need to advertise. But now, there's a motion and a second, if there's discussion, we can discuss.
your discussion?
I just think that it's very difficult for us to undo the last 5 years of history and go backwards.
I just make one comment. We're going to have to advertise this auction in the public, we're going to pay a newspaper in general circulation. Oh, well, you on that, there's no choice. Also, we also talked about having a little notice in the newsletter, if it's timely, to advise people that we're having this auction on this particular day, to get as many bidders here as we can.
Other discussion?
That's it.
So,
I guess, question if I could ask just for clarification, the motion, would this be to advertise for sealed bids to be open at the next meeting?
if you can do that in that time frame.
I just check 56, I want to see what it says.
But
I would-
if not next month,
Yeah, I would just add to the motion that the earliest convenient time.
Yeah.
By way of continued discussion.
Sure.
I still don't like the overall price structure that we've set up for it. I've made my arguments in the past to no avail, but like Ian said, we are where we are. We can't really go back and undo the past. And we need to have these EDUs used so that we can move forward with other things. So that's kind of where I'm at.
The $8,000 was a bargain price, and it's the best interest of our citizens that we don't sell our assets for they're less than what their value is. That's how I feel about it. And I support the auction.
Okay, we'll vote.
Aye.
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 4 votes to the affirmative, you will move forward, Todd, in appropriate time frames and publications and get it out there. All right, I guess that moves us to new business. And we've got fire hydrant request from your water company.
Yes, one of the formality, we've already approved the subdivision plan for Hamilton's Overlook, which included the extension of your water into that development. And we already have some hydrants in that general area, so this is just an expansion over to the next area to be developed.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 4 hydrants that they're asking for.
Second.
Yeah, I was waiting for the discussion phase.
We were open.
So York Water is putting these in at their expense?
The developer, I mean, that's,
Is it the-
it's no cost to the township.
Okay, they're
With the
just letting us know that
exception-
they're putting in 4.
With the exception is we do pay the hydrant rent, the municipality, from this point forward.
Which we also get reimbursed for through the hydrant tax.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Stan?
I may have missed it. Did this number of hydrants get a fire department approval that's okay?
As far as location,
Yeah, is this something, one of the fire chiefs?
I know the fire departments have not been, on the ball as often. I know there have been some plans where they haven't been able to get a response. So I don't know specifically.
that's a good question.
Three of the 4 are within the new development, which the fire chief for that area, I think maybe was probably the Freedom.
Right.
The plans are forwarded to them for their review and comment. The other hydrant will be in, at the corner of Abbey and Penny Lane. Because they're actually going up, and I guess that would be Penny Lane loops around and goes to a dead end. They're going to actually go through the woods across private property to get into the development. So 3 of them have definitely been approved through the.
I mean, the fire department always gets the plans, and they always have the opportunity to
Correct.
respond.
As long as they have the opportunity to
Yes.
say no, then.
No, they
I
always
think
have.
about that. I see they're putting up the actual traffic lights at the end of
Campbell.
at the trail in Campbell.
Can we,
There's no turning lanes there, are there? It's just forward, or there's no left-hand turn or right-hand light? No. Is there strictly?
I don't believe it is, no, not at this point, no, and that's dictated by PennDOT. They're the ones that determine what that traffic.
Based on traffic study, but.
can I interrupt that a minute and let's deal with the fire hydrants? You know, we can ask those questions, just since that's a motion standing on the floor.
Strike my question. I've already decided on that.
Any other discussion on the hydrants? If not, we'll vote. Dave will vote.
Aye.
Aye.
My apologies.
That's okay. 4 votes to the affirmative.
I'll never do that again.
Well, he's the chairman. I thought we were done. So I was,
Yeah, voted.
I understand, that's why I said you're the chairman, you're keeping us on track. I thought we were already past that.
Now,
I've already spoken. Again, I apologize to Dave and to you for my
no, it's okay.
imprudence.
That's okay. They kind of one followed the other. I just wanted to make sure we didn't
Keep
lose
it
track
straight.
of finishing the other one. The other development right verification.
Yeah, this is for property at 1071 Raver Road. The property as of November 10th of 76 consisted of 41 acres, was allotted for development rights. Since November 10th of 76, none have been utilized, which leaves 3 remaining available to be either subdivided, sold, or transferred into a receiving district. One must remain with the property.
All been appropriately verified.
Correct.
I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Development right in a second. You vote?
Aye.
Aye. 4
Hey,
votes to the
Mr.
affirmative.
Chairman,
Yes, Stan.
getting back to,
Yes, Paul.
getting back to the traffic lights we installed at Campbell and the trail, it's not on the agenda. I don't believe so. I really didn't jump ahead of anything. I just jumped in
Okay.
to something, okay, which maybe I shouldn't have done. Again, I apologize for that. But is the state saying there's no room along the edges of Campbell Road for additional lanes? Is that why they're just having straight, no turning lanes?
No, the traffic study was conducted through PennDOT. I don't understand, how their review process is and what the determination is, but their determination came back that they did not require,
Based on volume?
based on volumes and flows and so
What
forth.
about the anticipated volume? Or
Well, that's
they can't
taken
take that
into
into
account.
account.
They can't take into account what's going to happen beyond Hamilton's overlaw.
So they have to put it in now, and then we have to go through another study at some point in the future.
If there's another large development down the road that could impact that intersection, they will have to have a traffic study conducted. And if there's upgrades that are required that would involve turning lanes and so forth, that developer would need to upgrade that traffic signal intersection at that
See,
time.
it's a shame it comes down to the last developer because it builds up through various different
Yeah.
developments.
Because
It should be a
a
tax.
lot of that traffic is due to development in Freedom Borough that was done years ago.
There should be a fund set up so that money can be put in that fund from the very first development. We can't go back. We're not smart today.
Well, what do you think Al needs? I mean, it's a T, Campbell Road trail. When the light turns green, you'll be able to turn right and left on the trail, you go north or south. So you don't need a turning lane off of Campbell on the trail. And the trail north has a left turn lane now.
Not a very good, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's not very long.
I don't know if there'll be a green light for it, but there is, so traffic going straight through to the north can bypass on the right, so.
Okay, there was a little bit of correspondence, I guess, maybe the 911 audit. There's probably no questions on that, but if there are, I'm free to
Can we
answer.
get an update on that public meeting?
As Stan probably knows, it's not a very flattering audit of the 911 center in York County. Found to have many deficiencies and shortcomings. And I guess that's the reason the audit was done, because to try to identify those. those and figure out how to fix them. Did you have a question, outstanding?
He's asking what happened, what's the update after the July 24th meeting?
Yeah, he has collaborating feedback from the county, I have not.
Okay. Okay, we have arrived at the last opportunity for public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board at this time? Stan, since you're closest to the mic.
Stan Walters, 26 Essex Circle Drive, Shrewsbury Borough, speaking on behalf of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is the volunteer group that's working on the debris pile on Clearview, West Clearview Drive. We have about 40 man-hours into the project. We're about 2/3 of the way done. In another 20 to 30 man-hours, we'll be at the point where we've got all the debris broken down into chunks that will fit into a dumpster. At that point, the homeowner will be renting the dumpster for us. So if you drive by that site and look into the woods, you'll notice that the pile of the debris is actually disappearing. The material is still on the site, it's just being moved closer to the road into staging areas that we have back there. There's a large area where you can actually pull off on the side of the road there and walk back on the trails we've created that'll all fill in again. We've just, we haven't gotten rid of the ground cover, we just kind of trample it down through activity. But that project should be wrapping up here, during the late summer, so I anticipate that'll all be done.
People should know that Stan and his group do a lot of projects in our township from time to time, and I think as a board, we fully appreciate your help. You do good work.
Absolutely. Matthew, you want to come up?
Jackie Wilson, Shrewsbury Township, 2239 Prospect Circle. Ms. Chairman Rutledge mentioned about pickleball. We are also an aging community. Pickleball is a combination of badminton, tennis, with a little bit of waffle ball in there. It's designed for aging people. When will the pickleball courts be completed? Are the pickleball and when are they going to be completed?
At the moment, they're not even in the plan for the park. But a good question you can probably answer is what kind of a court does it need? I've heard it can be played on a tennis court. Is that?
May I get back to Mr. Rutledge with the specifications?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be helpful because there have been a number of comments. Also been a number of elderly people that hurt playing pickleball. I know 3 with broken bones. But no, there is, I've seen courts, some of I've seen are like raised and wooden, so I'm not sure. But
I actually did some research on this week, or last week on pickleball, because that was brought to my attention.
because we're certainly at a point where we're not tied in to anything and can respond to something the community would like to see. Probably might not be in this stage of the development, it might be the next stage, but it takes time to plan for it. So yeah,
Yeah, contact you also.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the court looks like and
That can be arranged.
what we can lay over the top of and things like that, maybe do dual purpose.
That is, from what I read from the official, there is actually an official pickleball website,
Okay,
and it could be very easily accommodated, just make a tennis court smaller.
okay.
Any chance it could be incorporated in our present?
Does use a net?
There you go.
It uses a smaller net.
Okay.
You got voted to do that.
We cannot amend our present plan to accommodate
Thank you.
this. So we would have to wait until our next.
Correct. There is a United States Pickleball Association.
That's what we're all pulling up here.
I guess you don't ever have to give it to me, I have it.
Okay.
But no, thank you, we appreciate the comment. There has been, I think you've even gotten calls on it. We've had some interest, so we certainly talked about that even before. So thank you.
I'm curious about the genesis of the name, but I wanted to.
Pickleball.
It's rumored it is started from somebody, one of the family members' dogs, or they made a joke about the instrument used to hit the ball, reminding them of a pickle. There are various and sundry theories behind that.
It's one of the things that came up, I put a Facebook post that some of you may have seen on the Southern County webpage about things that people wanted to see as we're working towards a comprehensive plan and a budget in particular for this coming year. And that was one of the things that came up.
And people mentioned to me that they really want to see pickleball.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to address the board at this time?
When we developed this plan, we did get input from the community, but pickleball wasn't on the list, I don't believe.
Yes, go on.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brian Knoll, 15320 Thompson Road. We're going to be one of the property owners that are affected by the potential vacancy of Thompson. And I just wanted to know if the board got the letter and you're considering the considerations we proposed, see where things stood with that. I know you said there was a traffic study. Actually, I don't recall seeing any tubes that were down on the road on Thompson Road the last week or so.
They replaced last,
Well, they don't actually use the hose on the road anymore.
I don't know if they used, was not down to see them.
Right.
But,
Some of the things were just a tiny little.
Counter or something like that. I didn't notice that. Maybe I just didn't notice it driving by, but
yeah, and I know, we've talked the last several months, there's a lot of components and a lot of information that we're
Right.
still pulling information on. Your questions will be answered ultimately before the board makes any decisions.
Okay.
But we're just not at that point right
Okay.
now.
How do you stand in regard to the project?
I'm okay in concept with closing the road. I have issues with taking on the maintenance of 400 feet of road. I don't want to maintain, we're not talking about a small driveway culvert here, we're talking about a sizable culvert. Even if the township replaces it, which it desperately needs, that stream has been eroding from the day we moved in. It's going to only get worse. So I just don't want to take on the maintenance of that culvert, the road, or anything like that. Snow removal, any kind of maintenance, general maintenance upkeep that's needed. I heard discussion with Super Pave earlier. There's problems inherent with that. I don't want to get into that right now, but I just have a problem with taking on the maintenance of that road. You want to close the road, I'm fine with that. I've talked to Kevin about it. I just do not want maintenance of additional 400 feet of road.
You're on the southern end of the road?
Yes.
So you would prefer that the road be closed north of your property?
North of the property, they're be given a proper turnaround for vehicles, because right now, even today without, through traffic, we get vehicles turning around on our property. So I just, there will be more of that when the road is closed.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that would be taken care of. And again, even with all of that, I just don't want to maintain that road. A driveway is one thing, but maintaining an extra road with a sizable culvert. If we're talking an 18-inch or 24-inch size, culvert, that's one thing. This is not what we're talking about here. This is unnamed tributary to South Branch of Cadorus Creek. And it's sizable drainage area. And it's not something I want to do, especially with all the storms you've had. Other roads that have been a problem. We had a bridge washed, it's just a pedestrian bridge, wash out one of those storms. So I don't want to, I know what it can do. I know what the water can do. So I just don't want to have that something that we have to deal with in the future or when we go to resell.
You'd like to see the straw pond preserved, wouldn't you?
I have no problem with that. I'm an agricultural engineer by trade, Paul, you know that. So I have no problem preserving agriculture. In fact, I want that to happen, and I've talked to Kevin about that. I'm on his side with that. He agreed with me when we talked about all the issues that would be forced upon me. He said he wouldn't take that on either. So, I mean, and I don't want to speak for him, he's not here, I see Megan's here, I don't want to speak for Kevin, but the burden of having to take that on as a property and then turn around selling that, if we were to go to sell. So those are some of the concerns that I have.
Understood.
We're not at a decision-making vote.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I know what previous meetings this was discussed, I didn't learn about it until the one time it was discussed. I didn't know about it until the day of. And I already had the previous commitment, so I just wanted to make sure it go on record and the board understood my concerns.
Sure.
We want to thank you for coming
Yeah,
and expressing your concerns, and we'll definitely take this into account when we're making a decision.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to address the board at this time? I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
It's a great motion.
Second, and we're all in favor.
I would like to believe that